But here's my question, Mark. And this isn't just a South Carolina question. This is a college football question. Why would any coach hitch their wagon to some true freshman quarterback when the transfer portal exists? There's so many guys hitting the portal now, and there's so many dudes looking for opportunities. Like, what? Like, who's to say at this? Like, that's why it's not smart or wise, in my opinion, to try to project ahead and be like, because people will ask me, do you think Luke Doty's the guy next year? You think it's Braden Davis? You think it's Tanner Bailey? There might be a guy that's not even on our roster right now that takes over. Who would have predicted Zeb Nolan to play last year? I didn't even know who Zeb Nolan was at this time last year. So, I mean, if you're a coach and there's a guy, it very well could be Bailey or Davis or one of these youngsters I've sort of mentioned, but if you're Shane Beamer and you let's say you play another late December bowl game, let's say you win the bowl game, whatever, but you get to early January and there's a kid from some Power 5 school that plays quarterback that expressed interest coming to your school, why do you not take that call? We can either go into the season with a complete unknown at QB, or we can get a guy that has Power 5 experience and has been successful or whatever his resume is. Again, that's not just a South Carolina thing. That's just everybody. So high school recruiting is going to be impacted greatly because the portal exists and there's so many guys moving in the portal. I just, why would you hitch your wagon to a true freshman, Mark?
Well, yeah, to take your example and make the analogy to the NFL to say, okay, the draft versus free agency, take the NFL draft. For as much as we go crazy about the NFL draft and all these guys dress up in their nice suits and get all this attention for weeks and weeks and weeks, take any NFL draft, take the first 2 rounds. And those are important picks. Those build franchises. But at the same time, how many misses are there? Tons of misses. The same thing in like you mentioned, the top 100. Go to any position, take, let's say, the top 20 quarterbacks, running backs, whatever position you want. Go over the last 5 years, tons of misses. And these are the top 20 at that position. The guys that you're talking about in the transfer portal, they've proven something, just like free agency in the NFL. Okay, a guy's played 4 years in the NFL. He may have been undrafted free agent or a 7th round pick, but that doesn't matter now because he's proven he can play in the NFL, just like the guys you're talking about. It doesn't matter what their recruiting ranking was in 2018. They've now proven that they can be a big-time quarterback in the NFL or in college football, or at least capable. Take Max Johnson. Max Johnson. Not a lot of people are that excited about Max Johnson. Guy threw 27 touchdowns in the SEC, and now he's going to be most likely the starting quarterback at Texas A&M. He's a good quarterback. He's a good player.
Right. I mean, those guys, that position so highly criticized, but it's like you mentioned the NFL, like just having a guy that can handle the week in, week out grind is like, there's no guarantee a rookie is going to be able to do it. You know what I mean? So it's easy to, I look at Jake Bentley at South Carolina. I will go on record. I was not a Jake Bentley fan. Did not like Jake Bentley. Thought he was extremely inconsistent. But I'll tell you what, Mark, after the last couple of years of the quarterback play we've had, I was like, maybe I shouldn't have been so tough on Jake Bentley because, man, at least every now and then he was good. I mean, now we'd just no clue. So you don't know what you have till it's gone, I guess. So, yeah, I mean, again, you'd rather take a proven guy that at least he's been a starting quarterback at Power 5 before. This freshman, we got no idea. And in this win by any means necessary, win now, you got to win now. Coaches, Mark, are not getting 5-6 years to figure it out anymore. If you're not winning by year 3, people are like, well, he's not the guy. I mean, dude, has it? That's another conversation. And I'm not asking anybody to have sympathies for these guys because they're making millions of dollars. And in a world where people like Will Muschamp are getting $13 million to get fired, nobody should have sympathy for them. But has it ever been tougher to be a college football coach than it is right now? I mean, they have so many things to worry about. And then you add in transfer portal, and then you add in NIL. I mean, and then you add in the win by any means necessary, and then you add in the lack of patience from fans. I mean, dude, it's a cutthroat business, man. You either get it done. I mean, people wanted Marcus Satterfield, the offensive coordinator. They wanted him fired after year 1. Year 1. I'm like, the guy hadn't even had a cup of coffee in cola yet, and they want him gone. So, it is a win now mentality. You don't get a couple years to figure it out. And again, you're getting paid handsomely for it, but it's a tough job. It's just, welcome to the big leagues. So,
folks, take this in when you're evaluating coordinators. Jim Knowles just got a huge job moving from Oklahoma State as defensive coordinator to Ohio State. Go back and look at Oklahoma State, what he did there. He stepped in. They were ranking in the 90s in defense his first couple of years. It took him like 3 to 4 years. By the time he left, they had a top 3 to 5 defense in the country, but it took time. Now he gets a big job at Ohio State. Sometimes takes time.
sometimes
He's considered one of the best, and his defenses were not good.
Yeah. And I think, Mark, that's why I just listen, I'm as passionate as any, and I will, kick and scream and go crazy after a victory or the same after a defeat. But I try not to overreact because, like I said, when Shane Beamer was hired, I just automatically was like, this is a minimum 5-year thing. Like, I'm buckled in for it. You got to give him time to build. It's not going to be 3 years and we're winning 10 games. And you just, and it's just, I'd say to any fan base, it's just not healthy to have that mentality. Like, you got to give guys time to build recruiting classes. How can you instill a culture in 3 years? How can you do it? At least let them get a roster full of all of their players, all of their recruits, right? I think at minimum coaches deserve that. Now, if it's an obvious terrible situation like a Chad Morris or a Willie Taggart or something like that, then that's different. But as long as, reports are good from inside the building and people are buying in and, working hard and whatever. And as long as some sort of progress is being made, it's just, man, to think coaches are only getting 3 years to figure it out is just pure madness.
Another example right there, Chris, would be Mark Stoops. We've talked about Mark Stoops.
Look what happens when you give a guy time. I mean, look what happens when you give a guy time, man.
If they would have pulled the plug on him, his first 3 seasons were not good.
No,
he was not making much progress. He was making progress on the field that you could see in the performance, but it wasn't reflected in the records. Yeah. Like, he had some horrible records, and it took a while. No question about that.